Interesting day. Yeah. And last night I was listening to Dolly. I like to tap into her. I'll put her link down below, her YouTube. She's just got this really beautiful, sweet um, innocence, but she's not innocent, if that makes sense. Just this beautiful, pure essence. And she just does these chats. And what came up was something about Project Looking Glass. And one of the gentlemen in her group put a link. So I immediately was drawn to go to it. So I went ahead and watched that. And it was long, but I was enamored with it because it's so many things that I have known from the past, including some of the people that spoke, including Andrew, and having shared many discussions with him. And let's see, I guess the first time, which was interesting, my natural dentist had met him. And he told me about him, and Andrew agreed to, oh, I got a glitch. Wow, that was weird. Anyway, I spoke to him many times. He gave me his personal phone number, and he was having some eye issues, and it was talking about going back and forth, and an incident with Abraham Lincoln, going back to that time to see what really happened. And very fascinating stories. And I just, I just hold all this stuff. I listen to it, and I find validation throughout time. And even that deep sense of knowing within that goes, okay, this is truth. Maybe something isn't truth all the way how it's explained, or but 90% of it is. It's just maybe, excuse me. Had some milk in my tea this morning. Oh, got to find another alternative. Almond milk is kind of the same thing. I don't know why. Anyway, so it's just fascinating. It's just who the channel is and what is coming through and their clarity at the time. Now, so that's why, of course, even anything I say, you have to go into your deeper sense of self and see what rings true and what doesn't. And those things I question, that sometimes I'm adamantly saying no way, are the ones that I really dive into, because sometimes that's the mind that doesn't want us to hear those things or even research those areas. So it was fascinating to watch, and I will put that link, as I said, down below. The other thing that was important was during the night, I got a real clarity too about how they have been, as mentioned in the video, been calcifying our pineal gland since the 40s when they first started putting fluoride in the water. And that was after this alleged conspiracy, of course, that this crashed alien vehicle or extraterrestrial, whatever you want to name something, crashed, and they had this realization that the brain is truly just a computer. And that's why most of us are so confused on this planet, because we have been so programmed by just past lives, about this life, about what they've intentionally programmed us with since the 40s and even before. And so we take that as the largest part, of course, and we only, use 10% of it, if that, and they don't want us to know the other 90%. Those that want to keep us under their thumb, that want power and control. None of them need money. So people say something about, well, don't they have enough money? It has nothing to do with money. It has to do with power and their insatiable need to feel in control, which none of them are. But anyway, that's all coming to a head, as we all know. But the realization of the pineal, as long as we can calcify the pineal gland, it keeps people asleep. It doesn't allow them to see and access really that other, what I believe 90% is about. It's that spiritual awakening, that knowing, that connection to all things, understanding no separation, understanding this matrix, understanding the dream state, and really the reality state, what's going on when we fall into those really weird glitches, in my internet. What if the power around here is going to go out again? But the thing about the pineal gland is when I travel and then I come back to some place and I turn on their water and it's like wham, And my mom's water went out for part of the day. And when I turned it back on, when it went back on, it was just this onslaught of chlorine. And you know, they probably added more chlorine and more fluoride, because people are waking up. They are finding different resources that aren't the mainstream media, right? So they're trying to stop this flow of awakening as any way they can. And these are just fearful beings. They're not bad. They're not anything. They're just asleep. They're just living in darkness. They're choosing fear instead of love. So it is fascinating to kind of watch it all play out and be really clear that we have to be very careful about what we're doing. So for me, I bought a machine it was called Athena, and many years back, about 6 years back, when I kind of went in this state of depression after my divorce. And all of a sudden I started drinking this water and I realized, oh my God, I felt completely different. I mean, noticeably different than my friends were going, what did you do? And it was because the molecules were getting into my body, into my bloodstream, where most water, it doesn't actually get in. It's too big, the molecules. There's so many chemicals in it that it's really not entering. And people think, oh, I go to the bathroom a lot, so I must have too much water. No, the body creates this resistance. It almost is a shield to hold on what it has. So a lot of times water is passing through people. And the more hydrated you are, actually the longer you can go. So it is fascinating, but I was leery because in the Napa Valley, they keep turning the power off and, now the water went off and these things. But right before the water went off, my instincts told me, go check the bottled water that I had labeled for my mom in her pantry. And it's all backup water in case anything ever happens. It's all purified. It's from this machine. So I've left it here for her. And it's pours alkaline or it pours, just filtered. But I had filled up bottles and said, get all those bottles out there, Mom, and let's refill them. Because some of those are 2 and 3 years old. And it was fascinating because every bottle we opened, even though the date was, say, 3 years ago, that I put that alkaline water in there, it was still fresh. It still smelled good. Whereas some of the people are telling me that their water's so great, and I fill some bottles in my car and I go to open them, and a few days later they smell musty. Some last maybe a few weeks, but nothing has ever lasted as long as this alkaline water that I pour to the top and seal it. Now, of course, in your car, when you're traveling and you go through freezing zones, you can't do it to the top. But even the ones that I had found in my car that had been over a year old that were from this machine were fresh. And so, but I went ahead and we poured it all out and watered plants and things like that, and refilled all the bottles so it would have that day's date. Then the very next day, the water went out here. And it was really fascinating because it was like, well, we had all this water. So I was glad about that, but it was just kind of a telling of what could come. So just the interesting thing is, I guess what I'm trying to say is the pineal gland is really important. And as long as they can keep us asleep, alkaline water helps get rid of the calcification. It takes it out if you have one of the machines. Actually, my miracle machine right now to the side here is playing pineal. It's the pineal wave, and that's that beat. But what it does is start clearing the pineal. And I found the need to start really playing that, looping that 24/7 instead of doing all the programs going through. I've been the last 2 days really putting that on because I really feel that in these times, people are getting psychically attacked and also chemically attacked. And that's the scare of the people, them trying to scare us into thinking we need these vaccines and we need, all of this. I won't say it's false. It's false information. So anyway, just protect yourself. Meditation is another great way, and also magnesium. Magnesium, single video that I saw that had experts, a panel of experts, one of them was absolutely phenomenal, with experts all over the world from all different fields. when I went to share it with a friend 2 days later, it was down. And I was so sorry that, because I said, gee, I got to record this, myself, just take it off my phone, especially write all these people's names down, because they were very important people. And I thought, and went back and it was gone that fast. So, but they were talking about magnesium. They were talking about chemtrails. They were talking about the aluminum and the overdose of aluminum that's in our soil and coming from the air, and have the weather control. So that is in us because they're so tiny. They're getting into our skin, they're getting into our soil, our food, and all of that is, causing tremendous damage to our physical being and also clouding the pineal gland. But magnesium, meditation, these waves that I use, alkaline water. So just be really cautious of what you're doing. Wheat is another thing I've given up, and the reason why, because it doesn't sprout anymore. They've stopped it. They cut it before it actually releases the enzymes. So a lot of this food that we have is really detrimental to us. And it's interesting because when I go out, I usually order an Arnold Palmer without ice when people are having drinks and stuff. And so all of a sudden, actually my friend Shannon and I, we were doing this 38-day cleanse, and just giving up sugar and giving up wheat. And now this was the interesting thing. I didn't even think about it when I ordered it. And I ordered Arnold Palmer for lunch, and then took a few sips and went, holy crud, I could not believe the sugar content in it. And I said to the guy, well, wait a minute, I didn't think you had all this sugar in this. And he goes, oh no, we're making it the same way. And that's the thing, when we give up something, when we get it out of our system, we realize how conditioned we've become to chemicals and to feeling not great, but we keep doing the very things that have caused the problem. So I realized then, just even in something that's mostly just black iced tea with no sugar in it and a little bit of lemonade, how extremely sweet that was. So I got rid of that. And yeah, it's just take care of yourself. Let's get that pineal gland open. Let's stand together in clarity and not judgment. I mean, everybody's doing their own thing, right? We each have a different way that we really effectively meditate, or we have beliefs or paths we need to go on, detours we need to take, but none of them is really a detour. It's a spiral road upward, okay? And I feel like I'm a little disjointed this morning. I had a long conversation with somebody, and it was really curious, the things that it brought up, like from the past. And I finally said, hey, listen, you know what? I can't go back to what I had. I don't even want anybody to bring up that as like, you should do this, or you should get back at him, or no, it's not. Stop it. Just say, if you want to be supportive of me when you know me from the past, in my life from the past, all you have to say is, wow, I really support where you are, what you're doing, because the mind then wants to go in. Of course, that's my lesson, so it really doesn't matter, right? My mind wants to go in and go, yeah, why did you let that happen? Or what were you thinking? Or, and I went to a place, like a year or so ago, of going, why am I spiraling downward? And it's like, I'm not. It's always an upward spiral. And my friend Stan mentioned that again, and I love having affirmations. When you kind of get something, of course, isn't that how it works? You get an affirmation, and then Stan saying, yeah, he really got that. And that it's always an upward spiral. It's just that we go through different levels of clearing out energy fields and things that aren't working, and what the mind has conditioned us. So have a really, really blessed day. And